Hello, good afternoon. My name's Wendy Randall. I'm one of the consultant midwives at the John Radcliffe Hospital. Excuse me, I'm joining you from my home today for our live session. So I will try and do my best. My computer is not working, or its camera wasn't working, hence when I'm on my mobile phone. We had a question posed in preparation for today's event from someone asking about continuity of carer and what was happening in Oxfordshire. So in response to that question, I think the person that posted it said that they had had very little continuity from their community team in 2017. And actually had worse continuity this time. And I wanted to apologise if people are finding that is the same for them. We have done quite a lot of work in Oxfordshire over the last few years looking at continuity of carer, and we had seen a big increase, but just prior to the pandemic in antenatal and postnatal continuity. Very sadly, we haven't had as good continuity during COVID for a number of reasons, but mainly due to different ways of working. We've had different staff shielding. We've obviously had people off isolating. So it's had quite an impact on the maternity service, but we just wanted to reassure people that we are committed to making it better. We do absolutely value continuity of carer. We have our first caseload team has been up and running now for a year and have done amazing things, but generally it's team continuity that we can offer, and we have 8 community teams. As well as our one case loading team. So I'm terribly sorry if you've had similar problems and haven't seen the same midwife more than once. It is literally just down to the effects and how we've had to arrange our staffing due to COVID. So if I scan back to some questions that I think have started to come in. So Michelle, you said, is your birth partner able to come and go from the Spires whilst you're in labour? No, Michelle, we ask that birth partners stay with you in the unit and that until after the baby's born. So we encourage people to bring in snacks, etc. for partners. We can provide coffee and tea, and we there are toilets available, especially on the Spires for partners. So hopefully. That's a bit clearer. We're still in a desperate bid to try and reduce footfall through the unit, which is why we'd rather people weren't coming in and out. Maria, you've asked, is there any provision of food in hospital if you wanted to stay overnight after the birth? So yes, we provide food for all people when they're in hospital. So we provide food for you. After the birth of your baby, we will provide tea and toast for you and your partner. Pardon me, but when you're in labour, we do suggest that you bring some bits for your partner to eat as well. But we will provide food for you, and we also provide milk for your baby if you're not breastfeeding. So I hope that's is quite clear for you. So if I scroll down for some more questions. So Louise, you're asking, can I clarify the new visiting rules, please? So Louise, we're absolutely delighted to say that from today, one partner can visit for 1 hour a day, and like was happening in previous lockdowns. So that's the only change that we've made. So it's in the antenatal and postnatal ward. So if I use the example of somebody being admitted to our antenatal ward in pregnancy, if you were admitted to our antenatal ward today, you would have seen your partner before you come in. If you're not going home tomorrow, then your partner could come in to visit you then for an hour at a designated time. But if you're going home tomorrow, there wouldn't be any need for them to come and visit because you'll be going home. And the same applies for postnatal care. So if you gave birth to your baby today, your partner, and you weren't going home tomorrow, then your partner could come and visit you tomorrow, and then hopefully you'd go home the following day and your partner would come pick you up and you'd go home. So that's the only change that we have made. We are going very slowly in terms of implementing other changes to our pathway, because I'm sure you'll all be aware that the more higher risk groups now, because the older risk groups and more vulnerable people have had their vaccine, the more higher risk people are those under 50 now. And so we do have to be careful when we're reintroducing things. So at present there is no change to the scans. So unfortunately partners can't come at present for the 36-week scan. So everything else still applies. They'll be with you for the 12-week scan. They'll be with you for the 20-week scan. And some of our fetal medicine unit scans, but not for the 36-week scan. So Hayley, you ask what the current protocol is on how long birth partners can stay after the birth. So Hayley, it's generally around a couple of hours, and it basically changes depending on what birth environment you go to. So if you birth on the delivery suite, you birth on the Spires, you birth in our midwifery-led units, generally partners stay till the point that you either go home or that you then go to the postnatal ward to stay. But we are in our observation area, which is a bit more of a higher risk area, then I'm afraid that can only be 2 hours, and post-caesarean section again is roughly about 2 hours. So it's post-elective caesarean section. But yes, I suppose it's the same for emergency as well. So it's just a couple of hours for those, but it can be a little bit longer if you're going home after the birth of your baby. Gemma, you're saying, is there fridge freezer use available for harvested colostrum and placenta on the Spires unit? We do have some facilities in terms of a fridge. We generally say to people, if you've managed to harvest a lot of colostrum, that don't bring too much in to begin with, because obviously if you birth in the Spires, we're anticipating that you will be home within 24 hours of having given birth. So we do say to people, don't bring in too much, because it may be that you won't need it. But yes, there is a fridge to put it in. So Sarah, you're saying you're 27 weeks pregnant with your first baby and you'd like to birth in the Spires and trying to read this on my phone, and get through it with gas and air only if you can. Looking at the stats though, only 20% of women seem to have these kinds of birth, which seems very low. Are you able to shed light on why this is it? Am I being unrealistic with my plan to expect an unassisted birth? So no, absolutely, Sarah, we'd recommend birthing the optimal place if you are considered to have a low risk pregnancy and are healthy. We absolutely recommend birthing in a midwifery-led unit or at home. There was a study initially in 2011 that said there might be some increased risk at a home birth with people having their first baby, but newer evidence has shown that that isn't the case, and you are more than likely to birth there without having interventions. And absolutely birthing with gas and air or Entonox is a good option, and using birthing pools can be really helpful. We will absolutely work with you on your breathing techniques, and some people like to do things like hypnobirthing or mindfulness to help with breathing, or just go to breathing classes. But I think that's a really good option, and actually your chance of being successful is very high in terms of not needing to be transferred for any interventions. So please be positive. Absolutely, we have more and more people giving birth, but do think about where your nearest midwifery-led unit is. We have midwifery-led units in Wallingford, Wantage, Chipping Norton and Banbury at the Horton, and they are absolutely amazing, and it is as safe for your baby to be born there as it is in the hospital. But if not, the Spires is a great option for you. We are starting a new community hub model with the Spires, so there will be the best continuity that you get tends to be the birth centre closest to you. So our freestanding midwifery-led units, quite often you're more likely to have met the midwife looking after you. But the new Spires hub model, hybrid model that's coming out will provide those who are booked with Oxford City midwives, Isis or Blenheim, Bicester and Whitney. There will be some more continuity there for you in terms of having a midwife that you know. Nikki, you've said, if we don't plan to breastfeed, do we need to pack bottles with our hospital bags? You've been informed you need bottles with disposable teats. So no, we provide milk for you. We have formula milk for you that you can feed your baby. So it's making sure that you have everything at home that you need, and you're sure how to sterilise and make up bottles, etc. for when you get home, because when you are in hospital we will provide you with ready-made formula, and which comes in bottles and has disposable teats. Amy, you said, are birth partners allowed at 36-week scans? No, so sorry Amy, at present that isn't the case. Again, we're so excited that we're able to make one change, and that is about the visiting for people who are inpatients on the ward, but at present we're not making any other changes to our scan department. So Claire, what are the rules around birth partners being with us for inductions? So at present, Claire, so we haven't changed that part of the pathway yet, because obviously we have quite a lot of people. We have 10 people in and out every day for induction. So it is very important for us to not introduce partners at this point. So basically your birth partner joins you at the point that you're either going to delivery suite or the Spires as part of your induction. But our induction team are fantastic. They're so, they will answer all your questions, they will reassure you and give you optimum support. But I appreciate you'd rather have your birth partner with you, but at present it isn't something that we can change. Olivia, you said it's likely that your baby will need to stay in hospital for a few days after birth. Can parents stay overnight? This won't be until June, so would more restrictions be lifted by then? Yeah, so Olivia, we're really looking at changes and planning it as we go along. And so this is the first of a change, and we're hoping that we'll be able to announce another change over the next week or two. And by June, hopefully, we will have made significant changes by then. At present, if your baby has to stay in hospital, we would encourage you to stay with your baby. But obviously, if baby was, and I'm not sure whether your baby needs to just have observations on the ward, Olivia, or whether it would have to go to the neonatal unit. We have different policies in terms of visiting on the neonatal unit. So if your baby's in the neonatal unit, one person can be with the baby at a time, and then you swap for the other partner to come in. So Lauren, you're asking, you're not sure if I've answered this, but the new rules on visitors, are children allowed to along with a partner? No, I'm sorry, Lauren. At present, children aren't allowed to visit along with a partner. But hopefully during that visit, hopefully social media, FaceTime, etc. will enable your children to be in touch with you. So Lauren, you're asking, if rules haven't changed, understand they can come down once you're taken down to the delivery suite. I think that was you responding to somebody about induction. Just looking to see if there's anything else. So Shabby, you've said, are there any limitations with availability with the midwifery-led units? You're looking at the Spires at the moment. No, we all the way through the lockdown, Shabby, we've been able to provide the full spectrum of birth at our midwifery-led units and at home, and we're delighted to have seen an increase in women birthing there, because it is a really good option for low-risk women birthing at home or in a community unit. But the Spires equally, we'd love to see more births on the Spires. And we're doing everything we can to facilitate that. I think people are just answering other people's questions. Just trying to see. Helen, you've been advised to have a home birth. At what point do we get referred to the home birth team, please? Currently, potential added complications that you may be aware of, as the midwife said she's going to discuss with you, but I'm not sure when I will hear back about that. Okay, so Helen, generally in terms of a home birth, the community midwife comes and does a home birth assessment visit with you when you're 36 weeks pregnant. If she's unsure whether you meet the criteria for home birth, she does contact myself or one of the other consultant midwives, and we just go through. We'll review your history to see whether we think it's a safe option for you. We're very much into shared decision making in Oxford. I'm very keen to answer any questions you may have and give you the information to make the best choice for you. Scroll down. Katie, you understand that this is a specific case. So you have high blood pressure. Prior to pregnancy, it's likely you'll be kept in hospital after I give birth, just trying to plan childcare and packing. Yeah, I mean, if your blood pressure is up, we will do what we can to help stabilise it as quickly as possible. Whilst we've said that people can't come in and visit Katie, it sounds like if you have to be in for a few days, so if you, like I said at the beginning, if you gave birth today and you weren't going home tomorrow, then your partner could come up. So don't feel like you have to bring lots of stuff, because your partner can also bring some stuff up, or whoever you choose to visit, they can bring stuff up for you. So don't worry about packing too much. And if it is a case that you've run out of things, people can drop a bag up to the hospital for you and we can go and collect it from the front door for you. Charlotte, what will the rules next year? Will they be... so Charlotte, I think you're asking what the rules are going to be because you're thinking of having another baby. Charlotte, we are all hoping that we will have more normality, hopefully in the next few months, but definitely this year. So I'm sure things will get back to a normal, whether it's a new normal or not, but we are absolutely trying to we all want our lives back to normal. Maria, you said if I wanted to stay overnight after the birth, can I arrange that on the spot or in advance? Yes, Maria, you can make up your mind after the birth whether you'd like to go home or not. So that's absolutely fine. Emily, you're nearly 37 weeks planning a vaginal birth after caesarean. Midwives have said if the baby hasn't appeared by 40 weeks, I'll be given a stretch and sweep, as they wouldn't want me to go too much further. Is there any chance of being able to have this done earlier? So Emily, yes, please do talk to your midwife. Of course, a stretch and sweep is something that we can offer a bit earlier for people that choose to have it. In terms of stretch and sweeps, if you do a stretch and sweep on 10 women, 3 women will go into labour within 48 hours. 3 women will have some changes to their cervix, but won't go into labour. And 4 in 10 women, it will do nothing for. Of course, we don't know from the evidence whether the same outcome would have happened whether we did the stretch and sweep or not. And obviously, stretch and sweeps can be a bit uncomfortable. And there can be a little bit of bleeding afterwards. So it is something that you can discuss with your community midwife and decide what you would like to do. Brittany, does everyone have to stay overnight after giving birth, or is there a chance that you can go home the same day, providing everything is okay with mum and baby? So Brittany, we positively encourage people to consider going home the same day if they want to. It obviously depends how baby's feeding and how you're feeling, but it's very positive being home. People tend to rest better, there's less disruption. But if you're feeling that you'd like additional support with things like feeding, then obviously staying in can be helpful, because unless you have somebody at home who can do that, then it can be helpful to stay in hospital for help with that. Katie, you're saying, is it likely that you'll be kept overnight? Katie, I think you were the person that had the raised blood pressure, but I'd have to scroll back quite a bit to see. Katie, if your blood pressure is not stable, then we would keep you in hospital overnight to keep an eye on it. But obviously, it depends how your blood pressure is for the rest of your pregnancy, and what happens when you're in labour and giving birth to your baby. That will give us more of an idea. Shabby, you've asked, are you allowed more than one birthing partner in the midwifery-led units? You'd like to have your mum and your partner. Shabby, at present, it is only one birth partner in the midwifery-led units, or in any of our birth environments. So even people planning birth at home, we're asking them just to have one birthing partner as well. This is about reducing the contact for our staff. So, our staff are predominantly all vaccinated now, but they all have families, etc. too. So we want to try to keep them as safe as possible and you as safe as possible. So we're asking you please to just have one birth partner just now and have the other person present virtually by way of smartphone, etc. So Helen, you said to add your previous comment, you've had an appointment with the Birth Afterthoughts service who reviewed your very quick first birth, hence why they've advised home birth this time. First niggle to birth was around 3 hours. However, a test for other reasons has shown that you're group B strep positive, so being told you would need antibiotics. However, the midwife reviewing my first birth predicted a car footwell birth baby if we tried to get to the hospital. So Helen, it sounds like we could do with having a chat and going through the pros and cons with you of what we're going to do, because if your birth is very quick, it's unlikely that we'd also get you in hospital on time to be able to give you the IV antibiotics, because ideally you should have those for about 2 hours before the baby's born. So some people decline to have the IV antibiotics, or some people wouldn't make it for the IV antibiotics. So we can do some observations on the baby after the birth. Some people choose after they've given birth to come into hospital for the observations, and other people choose to monitor the baby themselves. But again, have that conversation with your midwife, or if not, we can arrange, speak to your midwife again, and we can arrange to talk about it further. She says, looking for questions. Camilla, you're saying how long a birth partner is able to stay after birth on Spires or delivery suite. Again, Camilla, if you birth normally and you don't require to go to our theatre either for the birth or after the birth, you're generally on delivery suite or the Spires for 3 to 4 hours, in which case your partner can stay with you. But if you have to go to theatre, you go to our observation bay, and then it's only 2 hours. So I think hopefully that will answer your question there. So I think that seems to be all the questions for today. Oh, here's one just popped in. Are partners still being COVID tested on arrival? So partners, we're not COVID testing partners, but we test you on arrival. We ask you if your partner's got any symptoms of COVID for them to stay at home and for you to have a backup birth partner in that case. So hopefully that answers your questions. So I am going to end this session today. I'm hoping I've answered everybody's questions. If not, please message Maternity Voices Partnership and I can respond to them in the interim. So we're hoping to have some very positive stuff to share over the weeks as we're slowly planning our gateway and our journey out of COVID. Great. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'm going to go, and it's my daughter's birthday, so we're going to have a COVID safe walk. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.